Good morning, everyone. Welcome to Seller Sessions. Today we have a special occasion, and we don't usually do this, so this is very, very exciting for me. I have with me today Odette, Yael, Idan, and Tom, and they're all fabulous and amazing people. And I will hand it over to you, Yael. How are you today? And thank you for coming to Seller Sessions.
Very good. Thanks very much. Thanks for having us. It's a nice occasion. We're celebrating exit, so we called it an exit party. Yeah. So you have here three amazing sellers that sold their business recently, and maybe you guys want to start and present yourself.
Yeah, I love it. We can. By the way, everybody's having a drink beside me, because for me it's still, well, it just hit 8 a.m. today.
Cheers.
For you guys, what time is it where you are?
What time is it? It's like 6
p.m.
here. Yeah.
Perfect. It's perfect. So I'll just wait till my 6 p.m. to celebrate with you guys. I'll just drink in your celebration. So Odette, do you want to introduce yourself? Do you want to start with you?
Yeah, sure. Happy to. Can you hear me well?
Yes.
Great. Perfect. So my name is Odette, born and bred here in Israel. My background is from the local tech scene, like the high-tech industry. So I worked for about 15 years as a product manager and then a marketing manager. So I got to be very familiar with marketing and internet and driving traffic and advertising and using budgets. And then 5 years ago, I started, first of all, in one brand, and then it became two brands on Amazon, which quickly grew to an 8-figure business. And probably like 4 or 5 months ago, I sold the business. So that's in a nutshell.
How long did you have the brand for total?
Yeah, 5 years, I would say.
5 years.
Yeah.
How do you feel now that you sold it? Do you feel like, oh my God, I'm so free, I don't want to do anything else, or your mind is already starting to work on what's next for you?
Yeah, I would say, first of all, it's a huge relief, especially if it's your main business and you only have one account. I would say it's a high risk operation in a way. So it's a huge relief to have money in the bank, and you can diversify and do some other stuff and go into the stock market and go into real estate. But then again, there's so much expertise and experience that I've gained throughout these years that I just, I'm already obviously working on my next brands and trying to do it even better and maybe even a shorter cycle this time. That's kind of the direction.
Are you going to, because you mentioned real estate and stocks, are you going to take some of those profits and try to diversify by investing in other areas beside Amazon?
Yeah, sure. I think typically when you exit a decent sized business from Amazon, you can definitely take some of the profits and reinvest in a new business, but there's much left behind to invest in other areas. So yeah, definitely diversify. That's, stock market is interesting. Real estate requires more time, so it's kind of later in my schedule. But I'm definitely, going to be back on the wagon pretty soon. So I'm already working on the next brand to put together. Yeah.
That's always. Are you super confident that this next brand is going to be as successful as the first?
I do have concerns. I definitely see Amazon has changed a lot throughout the years. It was way, way different 5 years ago. I mean, yourself, you've been around for many years working with Amazon sellers. Yeah, it is more competitive. There are way more, sellers. Most of them are Chinese. We need to have a very strong differentiator to win beyond price, because they can typically source cheaper than us. But I think, I have what it takes to do it again. I definitely have the capital, which helps. I have the experience. So yeah, I'm hoping for the best.
If you don't mind, what did you start your first brand with? Did you have a set amount? Was it like 5,000 or 10,000 or 50,000? Only because you said now you have the capital. So I'm just wondering, what was that at that time for you?
Yeah, I think it's funny. I think the first order was just a few thousands of dollars. But very soon after, you understand that you need to keep feeding the beast and just purchasing more and more inventory. So I think it was probably like a $50, maybe $60,000 that I used to grow the business, and then early on it became profitable and it just fed itself. So I never needed to take any kind of loans or any kind of backing to grow the business. It really depends on how fast you grow, and if you're comfortable with growing slowly, then you can pretty much do it with your own profits. Yeah.
I love that. And I ask because a lot of people are very fearful now to start an Amazon brand, or there's some other people that, they think that if they just start with 1,000 or 2,000, all of a sudden they're going to start selling, and then they're going to take those profits and like buy a Lamborghini and all this. And it's like you have the two sides, and they're all very, very, exaggerated sometimes. So I want those who are listening to really understand that it's definitely possible to get to 7, 8, 9 figures. But you do require a little bit in the beginning, because I see a lot of sellers come on and they think just because they have like the perfect product and they have the perfect images, then that's it. They don't have to do anything else. Like they're not going to spend money on PPC or marketing or influencers or anything to that effect. And then they think just because their product is like perfect, that is going to take off and make all this millions. Which in a perfect world it would. It's just like you said, Odette, like it's so much more competitive these days that it used to be, even when you started. So yeah, I wish you good luck. I know you're going to really do really, really well. And yeah, I look forward to hearing more. Idan, let's go to you. Tell us a little bit about yourself. I know you have to leave in about like 20, 25 minutes or so. So I'll give you this.
I have some time for now. Yeah. So I'll tell you a little bit about myself and my background, how I started.
Please.
Okay, so I am a mechanical engineer by education, also did an MBA. Then I was working for a few years as an engineer for various companies. I started entrepreneurship, I guess, around 6, 7 years ago. And then the first time I sold a product on Amazon was around 4 years ago. So I've been selling on Amazon in the last 4 years. In the first year and a half, it was with a partner. And after that, we kind of decided to go our separate ways. It was in 2018. Then I kind of restarted my own Amazon business. And in 2020, which was 2 years after I started, almost a year ago, less than a year.
Business. You sold the first business with a partner, and then you started it.
No. We decided to go our separate ways because we saw things a bit differently. So we just rebooted, and each of us started his own business separately. And it was in 2018. So from 2016, 17 until 2018, I was with a partner, selling on my first Amazon business. Then we kind of terminated all the ASINs and the inventory. We didn't exit, we didn't sell it. But we had enough capital to restart our own businesses separately. And I did it in 2018. And then in 2020, 2 years afterwards, I sold my business, which was, I think it was around May or June of last year. And since then, I'm taking it a bit easy. And as Odette said, I totally agree with most of all of the things he said. So I use some of the capital for other investments, and I'm using a little bit of the capital to do other things in the Amazon e-commerce field, a bit different than what I did before, but more or less with the same expertise. And that's it. I was selling toys and gadgets, and now I'm putting more. I'm trying to create more different products than the standard ones, because, as again Odette mentioned, and I agree, more and more Chinese sellers are entering the market, which makes the entire price competition harder. So you need to reinvent yourself and be more creative with more original designs, and that's what I'm trying to do now.
Absolutely. But you don't think that's impossible, right? I mean, you already know what it takes to be successful. So even though it's more competitive, you are prepared for that, right?
Yeah, every time things become harder for some reason, you can use it as an advantage for you if you'll be one of the people with enough stamina to go through the process. And it's like a strainer, and every time it gets harder, it's harder to go through the strainer. But once you pass it, you have less competition around you, around yourself. So I think it brings more opportunities also. It's more difficult, but it brings more opportunities also. And if you know what you're doing, you can be just as successful as, I think that's my opinion, as any other seller that was selling in the last in the previous years. However, it requires a bit more expertise and a bit more capital, I think, on average, than it used to around 5 years ago. So I started as like other sellers. I started with I guess around 5K, 10K, and then I was trying to get more cash flow, to get more inventory, because the business was growing faster than I expected. And now I'm starting with much more. I'm doing something a bit different, but still I'm starting with much more because I understand it is what's required at the moment to succeed.
What's
So
what's more? What's that amount? What's much more?
well, it's much. What's the amount I'm investing at the moment?
Yes.
It's much higher because I'm trying to now. I'm going more in the direction of R&D than being just an regular seller. So it's around 200-300K, but that's because I'm creating other products, and I design them and I 3D print them and I go to China and I inject them in molds. So it's a different concept. But I don't want to confuse your listeners. I think that a standard Amazon seller that want to start now can do it. In my opinion, can start with 10K still. He will need more guidance and more knowledge and more expertise than what we needed 4 years ago. When I started, I didn't do any course. I was just like YouTubing everything. And I don't think it's the smartest way to do it right now. But it's possible to start with around 10K and to work yourself up gradually. Definitely, it's possible.
You said it's not that good to have that information from YouTube. Do you think it's just because so many people have different opinions of how Amazon works, or why do you think that's a bad idea now? I mean, it worked for you.
I'm sorry again. What was the question?
I said it worked for you, right? You taught yourself from YouTube and resources.
True.
Why is that no longer viable today, would you say?
Because first of all, I was a bit lucky because I did some things that today I would have been punished for, and Amazon didn't punish sellers for doing these things 4 years ago. They're becoming harder and harsher with time. And as Odette mentioned, it's becoming hard to sell on the platform. So the knowledge becomes a bit more complicated and more specific, and it's harder to acquire it just by YouTubing. It is possible. I think it would increase the odds if you get information from a reliable source in the beginning. If I were to start, like when I recommend now to my friends when they want to start, I always recommend them to start with a reliable course, and also understand it doesn't matter. You can have all the knowledge and all the expertise and all the capital, you can still fail like any other business. I know I can still fail. Everybody can still fail, regardless of the previous knowledge and capital. So take it into account. You need a bit more knowledge, and you need to be, as like any other business owner, you need to put as much effort as possible and be devoted and dedicated to succeed, and understand it can take time. Maybe not the first try, maybe not the second, because there's always the unpredictable factors that can determine if you succeed or not, and you can't control everything. You just need to do your best to navigate
and be a little bit lucky, right?
I always say that the equation of success, that's like what I believe in, is comprised from various factors, and 50% of this entire equation is luck. So you can control all the other things, and you can maximize your staff, your employees, your product, your capital, your time to market. You can try to maximize everything, but still you'll need some luck. Yeah, that's true. And the way for me to deal with luck is to repeat this thing again and over. So if you try one product and the second product and the third product, you always optimize all the other parameters, eventually you'll succeed. It's just statistics.
I was gonna get to that. I don't want people to think, you just sit there and you just get lucky. Usually I find myself that I get lucky the more I work, and the harder I work, the luckier I get. So
yeah,
luck doesn't usually find you if you're not putting in the time and the work. But I think, definitely, just like you mentioned, like consistency, persistency, believe in what you're doing, and work hard, and don't stop when you have obstacles, right? That's
for sure. And you will have obstacles when it comes to selling on Amazon, for sure.
Plenty. And when people started 5, 6, 10 years ago, they had different obstacles at that time. We didn't have that much information. Like today, we have all the tools in the world, right? Then we didn't have them. So we had those obstacles. We were kind of just going in blind. But now we have all the tools, but then you also have a lot more competition. So I completely understand. And I'm so proud of everything that you've accomplished. And I look forward to hearing about your new business when you launch it.
Thank you. One last thing you said about obstacles, and so I have a lot of friends trying to come in to this business at the moment, and most of them they try to open an account, and most of them for some reason get rejected by Amazon, and they call me up and they say, I tried to open an account and I was rejected, and then I tell them, like, welcome to Amazon. That's exactly the kind of things you're gonna deal with, and you just need to keep on going.
It's like a test. It's like every time you get a test, like, are you going to pass it? So if you sign up for Amazon seller account and you get denied, Amazon is, I'm just in my head. It's hoping that some of them are not going to try again. The ones that try again are the ones that are going to be successful, right? So
exactly.
The way we get some type of rejection, whether it's the account being closed, whether it's the supplier sending you the wrong thing, whatever it is, it's like, okay, am I giving up or am I going forward? And I see, at least in the line of business that I am and the services that I offer with the sellers, every time the ones that are super successful are the ones that go through all this trouble, and they never give up. They never give up, getting up.
Definitely.
And
I'll add to that. I mean, that was actually the topic of my presentation at Branded by Women. How only the fighters, those who go through all those suspensions, you can see how they react, and then we know they're going to succeed on Amazon. There are those who, they get suspended for a patent, and they're like, oh, what happened? What will I do? Can you fix it? What do we do? Do I change the product? And there are those who, by the morning, they already found the patent. They found prior publication. They're going to cancel the patent. They have 3 lawyers. They spoke with the other party, and they're ready to fight. And then we see them succeeding on Amazon. So I can totally relate to that.
You can just tell by people's energy, right? And how, like, okay, this bad thing happened, but it's okay. We're going to fix it, and we're going to move on. I love that. Thank you, Don. Let's move on to Miss Tom Pepper. How are you?
I'm good, and you?
Amazing. Now that I see all of you beautiful and intelligent people coming on my show.
Thank you.
Tell us a little bit about yourself, Tom.
Okay, so my name is Tom. I'm a mother of 2 amazing, wild kids. I've been an Amazon seller for the last 6.5 years. I sold my first brand 2 years ago, and hope to sell my other brand within a month or 2. I think that's it. You want to hear about my my past? I was an advertising, marketing, and business. I did a few things before, and when I turned into a mother, I said I have to find something that will help me be a full-time mother, and Amazon was exactly that. So that's it.
How long ago was it when you started your first brand?
My first brand I started in 2014, and it was on the air in the beginning of 2015. I did it really slowly through raising my kids at home and giving birth. And I try to work 2-3 hours a day, not more, and to do it with a smile and to stay free. And I think that's it.
How did you learn
everything-
Amazon? What was the process for you? How did you even hear about Amazon? How did you learn
Okay,
about it?
so my husband had a friend that started, I think, 2 years before, and we met him somewhere, and he said, "Okay, guys, you have to start that business." So we took a course for a few months, and we started it, and it was so easy back then. We just uploaded the product and it started selling, and that's it. So you ask about the capital. I think we put in $3,000, and that's it. From that, I became I became a big brand.
How did you pick your product? Like, what attracted you to this particular niche?
Okay, so my niche was toys and games. I have to say that every time I go to a toys store here, everywhere in the world, I get excited. I really love toys, and I love the fact I always my toys are always fitted to the age of my kids. So when I check the products, I bring them to my kids' kindergarten. I let all the kids play, and I say, "Okay, guys, what would you change? What would you like to add?" So I have the most reliable, focus group.
Yes, that sounds like such an amazing like this is you get real feedback from your real customers who are kids, right?
Yeah, exactly. So that's it. So when I sold my first brand, I think until the moment we signed the contract, I was still thinking if I'm doing the right thing or not. It took like through the due diligence and through the negotiation, I was thinking, how can I give my baby? And the moment I got the money to my bank account,
Your
I
baby
felt
was
so
so
relieved. And then I think 2 days after, I was working on my second brand already, and just missing the waking up in the morning, drinking my coffee and doing the refresh. The refresh was the good part. And now I see Amazon completely different, because when people used to ask me if I plan to sell my business, I said never. Why? Why give up such a perfect job? And now you can ask Indan and Yael and probably Odette. Now my plan is in the next 4 or 5 years to build a brand, sell it, build a brand, sell it, and that's the right way to do it. That's what I think.
I love that. And I love that you got your confidence, because a lot of people, they say exactly what you just said, Tom. They say, I don't want to sell my baby. Like, this is my baby. I get a cash every month. I'm doing pretty good. So what was that decision making for you? What made you say, you know what? I am ready to let go of my baby, and whatever happens next happens. So what changed in you think?
So I got a really good offer. So I got an offer. It wasn't back then I thought it was good. Now that I know that I know the market. It's I'm not sure, but I got an offer, and then I started to do like the bad and the good, and I felt it. I'm gonna feel safe, and I don't know if you're a mother, but once you become a parent, your whole world become thinking about safety.
Mhm.
So it took me a while. It took me like 4 months to get to feel completely confident with that decision. But I think that saying, okay, it's better to have the money in my pocket than the than the chances to more money on a tree. And that's the thing. I felt it. I'm always on a risk, and now I feel safe. Also, when I build the brand now, it's not the money that I put from my pocket in. It's a small part of the money Amazon gave me. So it's easier to start the
So now
second
you're
time.
selling your second brand, or close to selling your
No,
second.
yes, I'm close. Depends on the two ladies here.
How long ago did you start this brand, Tom? This one.
I
This
am on October 2019. So
Okay.
it's a year and a half.
And you're ready. You just
I'm
want,
ready.
what's my next adventure, right? Now you got into, you feel it. You're like a real entrepreneur now. You grow it, you started, you grow, you build, and then you get rid of it, right?
It's so easier now to get the decision made. Like I think I talked with somebody I don't know 2 months ago, and I said I'm thinking about to sell my brand or not, and it took me 10 minutes to get the decision. So because the second time it's easier, you know the feeling you feel after. I never regretted that I sold it.
Mhm.
I know that it's I Odette and Idan say it a bit differently, but I feel that it's easier now. Not the market. The market is hard, but I have the knowledge, I have the money, and in the end of the day, in the end of the day, it depends on you and not anything else. And I stay. It's only the brand and the account that changes. So
Absolutely. I love that. Yeah, I want to see you sell like 10 more brands. And
yeah.
now we have all the aggregators coming in, and it just shows that there's just so much interest and so much money pouring into the Amazon brands that this is the perfect time for those who are listening. I have a friend who shall not be named, but she's been selling for over 10 years, and she just won't let go of that brand. And I'm like, let's just sell it. Let's sell. I mean, let's sell it. It's not mine, it's hers. But I'm like, let's just sell it. We'll start something. I mean, she's always doing other brands, but like her main one, she's holding on to it very, very hard. And I can understand that. That's why I asked you, Tom. I was like, so when was
Tell
that?
her to talk to me. Tell her to talk to me. A 5-minute call, and she will sell it.
I will, and I'm of the same opinion. Like everything, I do and everything I buy, like I don't put emotional connection to it. Like I know, some of my friends don't get like a really nice car, and then they'll name that car, and it's like you already make that connection. I'm like, for me, it's just a car. Yeah, it's maybe a nice car, but it's like you have to know when to detach yourself, because maybe from the car you can get a jet, you can go, you can get a yacht. So as long as
Exactly.
you're open-minded with that. And I love that, Tom. You're about to sell your second brand, and then the third and the fourth. You're just like you're just rolling them on a bend, right? You just start and sell, start and sell. I love that.
Amen to that.
True businesswoman right here. um,
Trying to be.
you are. You're not trying, girl. Trust me. You already tried, and you're already doing it. There's no trying. You're already killing it. Let's
Mhm.
go to Mikal. How are you, love? I know you're just sitting here listening to us. How's everything going on with you? Tell us a little bit about yourself.
So first of all, hi, and everything is perfect. I'm very glad to be here and to see those great people that I enjoy spend time with on different things. So a bit about and apologies for being late on this webinar. I had some difficulties in connecting. So short background about myself. Michal, I'm almost 48 years old. I live in Israel, Tel Aviv. I'm a mother to 2 kids, married. I'm originally a lawyer. I used to be a lawyer for 25 years before I established Fortunate together with Yael. I was a commercial lawyer, general counsel of different public, international public companies. And my last role before establishing Fortunate, I was the VP Business Development of an international large company. I dealt a lot in M&A and strategy. And there I met Yael, by the way. She was our IP lawyer for that company. And the decision to establish Fortunate came with the understanding that there is no investment banker in the field, and there is a huge need for it. So we've decided to establish Fortunate and make a change, and I'm happy to be here when the change is on the go.
I love it. Who came up with the name? I think it's such a brilliant name.
That was first of all, thank you, Isabella. I'm great. I'm happy to hear that you love this name.
Actually, so Michal came up with it.
No. It was a mutual effort after many months of thoughts and discussions between Yael and myself. We had different ideas. I think that then Yael came up with the understanding that fortune is the relevant word, and then I added the net, the T, so Fortunate. But we love the name.
I love it. I think a name, carries a lot of power. So I always think, you have to pick the right one that feels good to you. And
every time she suggested the name, I hated it, and then I suggested the name, and she hated it. So it took us, I think, 6 months to get to that, right?
Yeah, right. That's right. We actually ran the business, I think, for 6 months under the Kabili great name, which I considered to adapt, but I understood that I need to formally marry Yael, and it was a bit awkward. So Fortunate it is.
So what made you two start the business together? I mean, you're both amazing, powerful women. Like, you just decided that. Tell me about that moment a little bit.
So I, as I mentioned, I was the VP Business Development and General Counsel of an international company. Yael worked then at IP law firm in Israel. And they made a little mistake, and they actually loaned. They gave me Yael for a part-time, and then I found an amazing lawyer giving services to Fortunate. This was, I think, not Fortunate. I'm sorry, to my previous company. I think that this was in 2012 or 13 or something like that, and then I left. To keep on and studying her second degree in New York. But since she was so great, we promised to stay in touch and do something together in the future. Okay, so this was like a non-binding promise that we gave one to the other. And when I left this company, we actually thought, okay, we need now to do something together, and we were trying to think what can be done here. Yael had already her firm, Kabili, that was already very successful by that time, providing services to so many Amazon sellers and with a great reputation. And then we became familiar with this phenomena of Amazon sellers who sell their businesses without really have a business representation as needed. Brokering is a very important component of this deal, facilitation of those deals. but there is so much more that sellers should have in order to get to a really successful result. I worked with different investment bankers along the years, and we've decided to just import this kind of service into this field. And this is what we're doing today. We take it very seriously. I think that we are, okay, I will not flatter myself. Yael comment always. I get comments from the Yael that I'm flattering ourselves, but sometimes, a man's got to do what a man's got to do. But
I think that's the best way to do it. If you don't flatter yourself, who will?
Yeah.
You know you are good at what you do, so of course,
Yeah.
go for it. Shout it.
So maybe without shouting it, I'll just say that today we are a team of 15 people. We have a third partner who was previously an Amazon seller. We sold his business, and then he joined us. On our team, we combine a thorough Amazon understanding, financial know-how, legal know-how, and M&A, huge expertise. And I think that with all of this together and high degree of commitment of all the great people that we have, we actually delivering on the mission that we took on ourselves. So I'm very happy with that, and to be here telling about it.
I love that. I want to go back a little bit to what you said. You said that a lot of sellers should be represented more by I'm getting a little feedback by brokerages, because you said there's some important aspects of the business that sellers don't know when it comes to selling. Are there a few points that you can give us? What can sellers look for before selling?
So there are different stages in this process, and it really depends on where the seller is at when he first consider to sell his business, or first is being consulting with a consultant. But in general, there is building the business with the anticipation that it will be sold, and then understanding what you should focus at, what you should avoid. And how to get prepared to the sale. So both on the business side, the strategic side, and just the general cleanups of the business, okay? And then of course, you need to prepare to be able to tell your story correctly. And this is not just a nice presentation with nice pictures of some of your products, but a real thorough analysis of the business, with the right context that each and every component and data which is related to your business should be presented. The storytelling of your business, this is something that you should do for yourself. You don't need to go to any buyer who will explain you who you are and what you're worth. You should do the preparation first by yourself and understand what are your lowlights, highlights, what you should emphasize more, what is the projection for the future, what is the real potential that lies in your business, based on which you can get the right valuation. And then the next stage, I can say, is to make sure that you really tap the market at the specific point where you decide to sell. The market today is, I'm sure that everyone knows that by now. The market is super dynamic, super intensive. The amount of the amount of money which is spread over this market and the constant change of the market is amazing, and this creates lots of uncertainty. When you want to sell your business, whatever it could have been worth a month ago, it's not relevant necessarily now. So you must make sure that you really cover the all relevant market, the all accessible market for you in a very efficient manner. So we are running a kind of an auction, and we try to make sure that we don't give up on any single potential buyer. This can be an aggregator, this can be a strategic buyer, a financial potential buyer. Whoever is relevant for this specific business, we try to make sure that it is included in the business, because for every business that you sell, there is eventually one buyer that is willing to pay the maximum price. And I think that the seller mission is to make sure that he finds this one, his one and only buyer. You don't have, I mean, you can have many buyers, but you have one and only buyer that will pay the maximum prices at a certain moment. And you have, although Tom has, he is a serial seller, and my guess that Idan and Odette just don't know yet, but they are serial sellers as well. But even if you are a serial seller, there is, you will not sell hundreds of business in your life. So you have one opportunity to sell this specific business of yours. I think that you should make sure that you get the maximum out of it. There is a lot what to know about the process itself, about the deal structure, how you structure a deal right. It's not only about the multiple that you get and about the overall price, but also the structure itself. And there are so different tricks and methodologies on how to build the right structure. And maybe so on all of this, I think that everyone should be accompanied by a consultant. Maybe another thing to bear in mind is that there is an inherent imbalance in the market between the buyers and the sellers. So you have highly experienced, smart buyers that have, background of M&A and investment banking, etc. And they're backed up with huge amount of money. And they're consulted all around, okay? So they surround themselves with the professionals 360 degrees. And then there is the seller, an amazing, smart entrepreneur. This would be the average seller. Young, this would be the average seller. I'm so old in this industry. Everyone else is usually younger than myself. And such a seller, if he's not making sure that he's accompanied by a professional who has the experience, then for sure he cannot manage well the process. As smart as he is, I mean, and these are all smart sellers. But,
I will interrupt for a second because I also need to leave in a minute. But I will. I'm not suggesting I'm smart, but I do want to say that I completely agree with Michal, because I made some. I made some mistakes, and I used their services. They were my broker, Fortunate, and I'm very happy about it. And also not just. Sorry for interrupting, Michal, but not just the broker, but I'll leave with the last tip, which is surround yourself with experts. In the sale process, which is a broker, definitely a lawyer, and someone who sold the business. And that's it. And I'm sorry I have to leave now because I'm in the middle of the course and I just went out for this.
Thank you, Dan, for coming.
Yeah, sure, no problem.
Bye-bye.
Thanks for having me.
Bye, Dan.
Mika, let's go back to you just for a second, because we're talking about, selling businesses. And I feel like, with all the aggregators coming into this space, do you feel like, one, will sellers be more open to start selling their businesses? Also, do you feel like because there are just so many buyers now, so many aggregators, are the valuations of these brands going up? Like, what is a trend that you see right now?
So yes, everything that you said, the answer is just, short answer is yes. Obviously, there is a mutual or broad understanding that there is a huge opportunity to roll up those businesses. Why is that? This is a very successful growing market. They've diversified, highly diversified. There are so many sellers. Highly fragmented market, okay? So many tiny businesses that all of them are at the average growing a lot and still present a huge growth potential. The current multiples increased a lot, but they're still not as big as, not as high as they could be. And this leads to few to few phenomena. So one, you see a lot of money which is directed into this market with the intention to buy those businesses. And on the other hand, naturally, sellers are selling more and more businesses. Why is that? First of all, because everything that already was said here by Tom, Odette, and Idan, okay? So I'll not repeat it. The second thing is that it becomes a threat, a kind of a threat not to sell your business. You are facing now much larger players that are getting more sophisticated with deeper pockets, and then again the imbalance leaves you a decision, either to grow your business and become one of them and fight not one of them, but to fight them, okay, to be able to really compete all of them, or to hand over your business to them and doing what you're good at, building brands, okay, from just building new brands. So we see more and more sellers that are willing to sell their businesses. It's still surprising here and there to find to meet a seller that was just heard about the possibility to sell his business through an approach that was made to him directly by a buyer. So we see some amazing cases, like one that we recently met of a seller that was so happy to learn that he can sell his business, and he got a great offer by a buyer that offered to pay him allegedly 6 times over the SD, but when you actually check, get into details, you learn that actually he will be paid 2 times the SD, and everything else is conditioned upon, achieving the stars and the moon, and this is it's happy and sad story at the same time, okay? Because it's such a nice event, so so flattering, and at the same time he's losing so much money. So I think that naturally more and more deals like that will happen. It makes sense both from the seller side and the buyer side, but hopefully the market will become more and more balanced.
And so you're saying it's very important to use a brokerage firm, even if you're selling to one of the big aggregators, because you still have to protect yourself. You still have to know what you're doing.
So you should probably use a consultant that will represent you, not only a brokerage that is out there for making the deal, no matter what deal it is, but someone who will fight for you to obtain the best deal possible. Yes.
I have to say, sorry, Michal. I have to say, the first time I sold my business was not through a broker. I haven't thought about it even, and I got an offer, which I thought that was great. And sadly, now that I look at it, it wasn't, and I could sell my business with a lot better. So the second time I'm doing it, so I'm doing it with a broker. I'm doing it with those two girls. I won't recommend to do it without a broker. There's a lot of things that you don't know you're losing. So sorry for interrupting you. I just wanted to say that.
No, I love it. I think it's very important to hear from those who already made this. Again, there's just so many sellers who are holding on, maybe because of these fears. Maybe they don't know where to start. They don't have their books, right? They don't have anything, and they can't even imagine that they will ever sell. So it's very good to hear from those who already made this step. Both of you, Odette and Tom, I think it's very brave. But let's go back to Odette. What would you say was like the most stressful part of selling your business, if you can remember?
You mean the actual process?
Yes.
Well, I'll add something to on top of what Michal said and what Tom said. I consider myself like a solopreneur. I kept my business very kind of lean. I grew it to 8 figures with like 2 Filipino VAs. I never had a huge team on board. I did a lot of the things myself. I'm a marketing guy, so I did my own ads and my own PPC, and I kind of learned throughout the way. I mean, I was okay failing and then learning, and it was kind of the cost that you pay for improving. So you try something, you fail, you try it better, and you improve. But one thing is, when you come to sell your business, you have one opportunity, you have one chance, right? I mean, the minute the deal is closed, that's the deal you got. So there's no opportunity to fail and do it better the next time. I mean, you could, but then you lose on the first time. So when I went to sell business, it was very clear to me that although I was a solopreneur and I was doing a lot of the stuff myself, I needed to surround myself by professionals that already had the experience. So whether it's an attorney that's done it multiple times, that knows the Amazon lingo, that has sold, businesses and represented sellers to Amazon buyers, whether that's a broker's company that can, compare and do this kind of proper bidding between all the different offers, and also a tax consultant. I think there was like 3 different people that are key to going through this process. So honestly, for me, it wasn't very stressful. It was like, in a way, it was like a second time going to a sale of the business, because probably a year before, I was in a very similar process dealing with a potential buyer, and the deal never went through. So I knew I kind of failed in a way on the first time. So I knew for a second time that I wanted to do it better and differently. And maybe that gave me kind of this push and urge to do it with a team, and not try to be smart and do it on my own, in a way.
That's very wise. Would you, for your next brand, would you hire more people to take more work off your plate? Like, what do you think you will do differently for your new brand?
That's a good question. For me, it's always a question of lifestyle. When I, kind of build my business around myself, I like being involved. I like being in the details. What I don't like is having like huge team meetings every Sunday and briefing everyone. So I like to keep things very small and lean. And there's a way to build a business around that. So that means that every time you need to make a decision around your business, you need to think about the 80-20 rule. And is it worth going this path? Is it going to be beneficial? Is it going to be if it's a good, let's say, business-wise decision? So let's say you have an opportunity to expand your business off Amazon. You need to ask yourself, what's the potential of growth? How many people do I have to put into it? Maybe I prefer to stay smaller and and work on the 80-20. So that's kind of the direction I built my business from scratch. I was very much focused on where are my highest gains. So typically I would say Amazon US is where I put most of my effort. I tried not to go, following the next shiny object like many sellers tend to do, and not to get kind of off topic or off the main route. And I'll probably try to bring an extra manager on board that can take some of the ongoing day-to-day from me. But yeah, maybe if I'm building it to sell, I don't mind putting the effort into it again for another 2 years or so, and just knowing that the end is not so far out.
I love that. That's very, very inspiring, Odette. Thank you so much. That's wonderful. Tom, I'll come and ask you the same thing. Is there anything that you are going to do differently now with this brand that you did with your first one?
Yes. Okay, I work alone. Every time I try to take employees, I don't like it. I'm a central person. I need to control everything. So that I won't change. But I would build the business, and I did it tax-wise and company-wise differently, because that was a problem that I had before with the sale. And the thing is that last time I built it to stay. For me, I built it on the name of my firstborn. I was emotionally connected to the brand. This time I'm emotionally connected, but it's it's totally different when you do it, that when you start from the beginning, with the knowledge that you're about to sell. I do it faster now. I think it took me maybe 8 or 9 months to get to the same revenue I had in the last brand. So everything is more rational and less emotional, and that's the main thing. And the tax structure and the company structure, that's what I changed. Other than that, that's Amazon. I do the drill.
I love that you're very powerful and you like to do things yourself. You don't want to Lego, which is probably why you created, such a big brand. But sometimes it's nice to know when to allow other people to help. But I can tell as a mom, you're like, I know what I'm doing. I want to hold on.
I know it best.
You probably do. Before we finish today, let's see. We have some comments. Mr. Neer, you have the A-Team live today, of course. Hello. We all love you here, Neer, so you're in good company. We have a question. In legal piggyback offer, how can we capture sales and how to implement strategies to avoid piggybacking and establish own listing that will generate sales? Yael or Michal, you want to take this?
Yeah, when I'm trying to understand.
Yeah, me too. How can we capture sales and how to implement strategies to avoid piggybacking and establish own listing that will generate? Yeah, so I think that the question is more, it's not, it's illegal in legal piggyback offer. I'm not sure if I understand the question. Does it relate?
Roya, try to clarify your question.
Yeah,
maybe
sounds
with
like
an
he's not talking about private label, maybe resales where they're competing for the buy box. Sounds like this is the topic. I'm not sure.
Okay. Well, hopefully he's still listening. If he is, he can message us again. Tiffany, good morning. Good morning. And we have Claire. Do you think it is wise to invest in using a business consultant nowadays?
So
No, I think that it means that we failed, right?
Yeah.
See, Tom's story is so inspiring.
Thank you, Tiffany.
And Pierre is saying hello. So thank you all so much for coming. Before let you all go, do you want to say maybe a few inspiring words for somebody that's on the verge of selling their business, but they don't know where to go next? I'll start with Tom because I feel like you really took that to heart and you can relate with other people. So what would you?
Odette is more inspiring than me, but I want to say, I want to talk to the mothers out there. Amazon gave me the chance to be a really 100% mother, and that's important. And it gave me the freedom to raise my kids the way I want and to be there. So if there are mothers listening, you can do it. It's not that hard. I know it's like everybody's saying that it's already, you missed the train. You're not. Women have the mental power to succeed. So just do it. That gives you the freedom.
Thank you. That's very sweet of you, Tom. Odette, what about you?
Yeah, I think, maybe one tip when you're going to sell your business is find a support group to help you throughout the process. And I'm not necessarily, I'm just find like a fellow colleague, someone that already sold the business. There are so many out there already. I personally have like a few good friends that all sold their business more at the same time, maybe slightly before me or after me. So just reach out to people. They're typically happy to help you out with questions and guide you through the process. I think it helps a lot when you chat with someone that's already been through it.
I agree. I love that. Thank you, Odette, for being here today. Michal, do you want to say a few words in closing?
Just think thoroughly of what are your plans. If it wasn't clear enough, make sure that you're well consulted, and smile all the way until the happy end. I think maybe it's I think that it's worthwhile maybe to hear a bit from Yael. I think she has a very interesting perspective on that. What I like a lot is that she has the perspective also to see those sellers during the time that they actually operate their business and tackle all those difficulties on Amazon until they sell the business. And maybe she can she sees them like from the moment they stop on thinking about how to keep on running their business for the long term, and then making the decision of sell. So maybe.
Thank you. Thank you, Michal, for coming here. And Yael, I mean, you brought in such beautiful guests today. Thank you so much for doing this. I'll give you the floor to say a few words to those who are watching. And a lot of people know you. You are amazing. We were together on Branded by Women. Thank you for that. You're very, very brilliant.
Thanks. So, I mean, I would say maybe that you should start earlier than you think. If you start the process about a year before you sell, there's a lot of things you can improve and that you haven't been thinking about. For example, when we're speaking and starting the process a year ahead, one of the first questions is, have you thought about taxes? What's your tax structure right now? Have you told your CPA that you're about to sell the business? And very often that makes a difference. We have a client now that has actually moved to another country and has done a relocation because of that. I mean, he went to a tax consultant, and then he figured out that if he moves, he can save more than $1 million. And that's just one example. We have example with intellectual property where it's not sufficiently protected, and when it comes during a deal, that's a big problem. When you have patent issues during the deal, that can be a problem. Trademark issues, that can be a problem. So that's something you should consider. Compliance, making sure you have all the certificates for your specific product. So what I want to say to sellers is, don't come at the last minute. If you start ahead, there are a lot of things, and even when it comes to money, if you organize it. Another last example before we finish, we had a client that had about 10 employees working on the business, but they were doing other things as well and dealing with other brands. So they were just, each of them was touching the business. Now their expenses altogether was very high. And so if you think ahead, you can organize it so that, if you think about it and you know that every dollar can be $5 and 200K can be $1 million, so you can save sometimes $1 million just because you thought about it in advance and you started a year ahead. So my advice would be, if you know you're going to sell in a year, start now, start speaking with professionals, start looking at your business, and then you'll be ready with everything when it's time.
And also for those who are starting brands like Tom, knowing that they're going to sell, like that, when you start on that path, you definitely make sure that you have everything in order, right? Everything from day one, starting from product research. So I love that. I think preparation will always turn out in your favor. So thank you for mentioning that. And again, thank you for bringing this wonderful people today on Seller Sessions. It's such a pleasure meeting each one of you, and hopefully we'll get to do this again when Tom and Odette sell their next brand. So
thank you for having us.
Isabella, thank you very much.
Cheers, Isabella.
Right.